bleep that out for the YouTube crew. Well, come to find out, women are saying, what's the epitome of feminine power? What is the peak? We've tried, we were married and we were oppressed and we were forced to stay at the house, and men wanted to just control over every aspect of our life. And men said, well, you had it easy. Women, no, down with the patriarchy. And then, of course, women's liberation and third, second, first waves, feminism. And they go to work and they work hard and they find out, I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my life. This kind of sucks, but at least my freedom. But anybody can do anything in Sweden, and yet it's one of the biggest countries where women kind of do the womanly things and men do the manly things. So they've done a lot to try to make everything equal, and they find out, you know what? People are just going to do what they want to do, and it turns out women like to do the womanly stuff and men like to do the manly stuff. We're going to read through a bunch of articles and topics on this one. First, before we get into it, let me quickly read from today's sponsor, the wellness company Healthcare Without the Propaganda. The holidays are here, which also means it's sick season, sinus infections, strep throat, upper respiratory hacking. Everyone is traveling and passing it all around. But guess what? You don't have to deal with it this year, folks. Why? Because this little blue case is your mobile urgent care. It has ivermectin, Z-Pak, amoxicillin, and 6 other prescription medications at your fingertips. Thanks to the Wellness Company's medical emergency kit, you can tackle anything severe your body comes across without ruining your holiday plans and winding up in urgent care. This kit cuts through all the red tape by allowing you to take control of your health versus being reactive and inconvenienced during precious family time or solo time. You don't need a gatekeeper because their medical board created a guidebook that outlines common treatments for UTIs, strep throat, bacterial infections, respiratory illnesses, and more. All it takes is filling out a digital intake form and your kit arrives at your door in 1 to 2 weeks. Travel with peace of mind this holiday season. Order your kit now by heading to twc.health/oddmanout and use code oddmanout, all one word. It saves up to $30 off and free shipping, U.S. residents only. Again, that's twc.com/oddmanout. All one word. You'll know you're at the right page when you see this beautiful man who looks somewhat like me, except slightly younger and thinner, who was backpacking around the world. You'll know you're on the right page if that's where you go. I honestly wish I had one of these kits, man. When I was in Peru, I got the Travelers run, and it wiped me out for a week. Painful, I tell you. Okay, so where are we going to start? Let's start with the women that are not happy. 60% of women end up on, I think it's 60% of liberal women, leftist women. They end up on seeing psychiatrists and getting medication for their being crazy. That is a thing. That is actually a study. I did a video on that. So you've got these women, 60% of them that are going batshit crazy. They're miserable. They're unhappy. And they say, but I'm empowered. And also, doctor, can you give me something because I'm miserable and I can't sleep at night and Chad won't call me back anymore. Well, this is from the Daily Mail, and we're going to keep seeing stories like this. This is a new one. We're going to keep seeing stories like this for the next, several decades. I'm single, childless, and alone. Feminism has failed me and my generation, writes Petronella Wyatt. Imagine having the name Petronella. But this is the same thing if you watched my video that I do about Yana, which I could do 5 more videos on Yana, but if you watch my videos on Yana or my videos on Charlize Theron or the most recent one that I did on what's her name that was in Superman that played Lois Lane. They're so irrelevant, I don't even remember their names. Anyway, these women all come out and they say, I'm stunning and brave and powerful and strong and I'm living my best life alone with my cats and I'm totally happy. Because they have female friends, they have other people they hang out with, and they're still, paparazzi chasing after them and taking their pictures. But someday the carpet goes away. What happens if you're the red carpet that goes away, that is? What happens if you're somebody that the paparazzi doesn't chase after? Terry Hatcher, that's it. Thank you, Chet. What happens if you're not paparazzi, you're not popular? You end up like this woman. Every Monday I meet with a group of female friends in a London restaurant. We have many things in common. We're all midway through our 50s, highly educated career women. But there's a vacuum in our lives. We're all single and childless. I increasingly feel, as do many of my intimates, that feminism has failed our generation. I grew up with its beliefs. No, strike that. I was force-fed them. And then she goes through her life story of how she was told she needs to be stunning and brave and do all her own things. And now she says, I'm miserable. She says, yeah, but historically the feminist argument has its points, But now it's lying to us. And now I'm single and alone. And you can see this is a very long story. She just rants and rants and rants. She says, yes, I believe in women's rights, but I don't believe in the militant feminism my mother grew up with. It went too far. The feminism I was spoon-fed in my youth made the error of telling members of my sex to behave and think like men. The error was a grave one, and women like me are paying for it, like gamblers in a casino that has been fixed. It's time for a cultural reset. It may be too late for me and my friends, but feminism should not be allowed to ruin the lives of future generations as well. Well, guess what? Too late. It already is. It already is. We can see it in the dating markets today. We see it on television and from the regurgitations of media and Hollywood. It's too late, and the next generation is going to be just like you, except now they're 25, and it'll be 25 more years till they find out. And I will be a 75-year-old cackling old man doing the latest video on how Gen Alphas are whining because they can't find no man. And old wrinkly Joker and all of you will be laughing right along with them because they're repeating the same mistakes. This is just from December 16th, Evie Magazine. Why can't my relationships make it past 3 months? Because they're going for the dopamine hits. They're going for the, This is published December 19th. You notice these are all 2 weeks old, right? Yet I've been doing videos like this for 5 years. It's always the same, and they're not going to learn. Except some of them are learning, and we're going to get to that story next. Some of them are learning, and they're like, hey, you know, those men that said, stay in the house, and I'll just take care of you, and I'll take care of the bills, and you just raise kids and clean up a little bit and maybe cook me dinner. Oh, my God, they were onto something. This is the greatest life ever. Why did I ever leave this? Say Sweden's young women. From Sex and Relationships on the New York Post, I had 1,000 first dates. 1,000 first dates. How many of those dates do you think this woman slept with? Genuine question. 1 in 10? I think that's a fair number. I mean, if we're going to be honest, it's probably 1 in 5. She went out with all the Chad Thunderstrokes. She slept with a bunch of them. 8 years. 8 years she's had 1,000 first dates. And she said, I expect a lot, and I dump men by an automated email if they disappoint me. How many people are you dating where you have to set up an automated email system to take care of it for you? 8 straight years, and she's been single. This Susan Metusi has not had a steady relationship for 8 years despite having 1,000 dates and rejecting failed suitors with an automated email message. And she's 38 years old. She's 38 years old, and she's rejected 1,000 men. At what point do you sit back and you cackle and you laugh at the plight of these women? Because this woman right here, who's looking good at 38, she gets the attention, she keeps turning them down, and she's this girl. Why can't my relationships make it past 3 months? When does she turn into this one? Feminism has failed me and my generation. It will happen. It'll happen to them. The serial dater who divides her time between Sydney, Australia, and London, UK. Gee, what does she do? Oh, she's an actress. Oh, Lord, she's an actress. She says, I want my fairy tale ending, and I want to meet the one and get married. So, okay, you're 38. There's no fairy tale. You're at the end of the fairy tale. 1,000 Prince Charmings showed up to kiss you and wake you out of your eternal slumber, and you said no. And now you're turning into Snow White you were Snow White. Actually, you were pitch black, but you were Snow White, pitch black. And now you're the evil queen because you're old and there's no eggs and it's over. She says that one romantic outing per week. So now it used to be in her early 30s, 3 dates a week. Now it's one romantic outing per week. Now, why was it 3 outings a week and now it's only 1? Less opportunity. She often would go out because she didn't feel like cooking. She was a foodie. She was a foodie date. Dating is a full-time job for her. If I'm not on a date or on the apps taking some new photos, by the way, I have like 5 dating profiles of the day. Lots of profiles coming at the end of this. That kind of proves my points. That's the whole thing. And this is her, and she's just, and don't get me wrong, for 38, I think she's attractive. I think she's pretty good looking. You know, she keeps herself in shape, but the guy that she wants doesn't want a 38-year-old. Well, the Sweden softgirl trend It celebrates women quitting work. Well, wait a minute. Is it just about quitting work? No, it's about becoming a traditional woman again. The youngest of this is why I say the youngest of us, many of the younger generations, they're skipping the dating apps. They're trying to meet people in person, not at the bars, but at college, at various, events and things like that. It doesn't mean it's going well for anybody, but at least they see there's a problem with the way that the previous generations have been doing it. And they're starting to come back around to, hey, maybe we're getting this wrong, because they see all these only fools girls and they see these women with body counts and bragging and going out to the clubs in their little tiny dresses for their way too big a body because they've been sitting at home eating too much. And they say, I don't want to live my life like that. They don't look happy. And maybe it's not Gen Alpha, because some of you corrected that the Gen Alpha are still like 15. Maybe it's the youngest of the Gen Z generation. Maybe that's it. But they're coming back around to more conservative ways. The men are finding masculinity again. The women are finding that they want long-term relationships. It doesn't mean they're keeping it in their pants and becoming chaste. We haven't gone that far in a correction yet, but they're at least not wanting to be like only fools women and these feminists. This is from the BBC. Sweden has a global reputation for championing gender equality. So why are young women embracing a social media trend that celebrates quitting work? Vilma Larson, 25 years old, previously had a job in a grocery store, a care home, and a factory. But she quit work a year ago to be a stay-at-home girlfriend and said she's never been happier. Now, first of all, let me say to her boyfriend that she's dating, based, because he didn't marry her, so good on him, he didn't marry her. And he said, hey, you know what? If you want to be a stay-at-home girlfriend, you can do that. You take care of the house. I'll pay the bills. You're not going out with the clubs to meet people. You're not going out to maybe hook up at work. You stay at the frickin' house where I can keep an eye on you because you women have gone crazy, and I'll provide a good life for you, and you can relax and have a good time. And she's like, hey, I kind of like this. Wow, it's almost as if men had this whole relationship figured out and how to do it correctly and properly, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 years ago, and then you women came along and screwed it all up, and weak men allowed you to do it. She said, my life is softer. I'm not struggling. I'm not very stressed. Her boyfriend works remotely in finance, and while he spends his day on his laptop, she's at the gym out for coffee or cooking. So he's staying at home, she's staying at home, and she's going to the gym, keeping in shape. She goes out, maybe grabs them a coffee, or she stays at home and cooks. Sounds pretty base to me. The couple grew up in a small town in central Sweden, but now they travel a lot and are spending winter in Cyprus because he works remotely and she doesn't have a job she needs to worry about, so she can follow his lead. He is piloting the ship of their relationship, and she is like the passenger on board. She's the co-pilot, if you want to call it that. And he's living his good life, and he's chasing his dreams, and he's chasing money, and he's chasing success, and she's along for the ride. She's not waiting at the finish line for the winners. She got on board, and she's following his lead. And it turns out it's working very well for her. It's kind of amazing how this is how it used to work back in the 1950s, at least here in the U.S. and in the UK. And it worked out really well. And then feminism came out and said, oh, you can't do whatever you want, sleep with whoever you want, and spend money on whatever you want, so you're being held down. Well, I got news for you. As a single man, or even in a man or a relationship, I can't sleep with whoever I want. I can't spend money on whatever I want. It's called having bills and responsibility. And they kind of forget that part with the feminism. Oh, it's great. You can go screw around and sleep with whoever you want and go to the clubs and buy coffees and do whatever you want to do for a living. But you also need to pay for your own car and your own apartment and your own bills, and you want to save for your future. And it turns out that's very stressful. They never tell you about that part. She says, every month he gives me a salary from his money that he made. But if I need more, I'll ask him, or if I need less, I don't. I just save the rest. So now you might say, oh, salary, what is she, his employer? Because that's what feminists would say. It's no different than my father used to do to my mom, with my mom, and my grandfather used to do with my grandmother. My grandfather made the money, he put it in the bank. They would sit down and discuss how much money she needed for groceries, for cooking, for cleaning supplies, if the vacuum cleaner was working. And on top of that, if she needed makeup, if she needed, a new dress or whatever, and he just gave it to her. They didn't have arguments, and that's both my father and my grandfather. I remember it was one Christmas. I was a store manager in retail jewelry, because that's what I did, because it paid the bills. Not that I wanted to be a jeweler, but it paid very well, and retail management did quite well for me because, men have to kind of do what they need to do to pay the bills, unlike women. And my father and my mom, my dad was retired, and they came in the store to stop by and visit and say hello. And my mom was just kind of, lollygagging, looking through the jewelry. And she said, "Oh, that's a beautiful sapphire ring. Can I try it?" I said, "Sure, put it on." And she's like, "Oh, I absolutely love it. Oh, this is great." And Dad said, well, maybe we'll think about that for a holiday or something. And she said, "Okay, Christmas is coming up." And she wandered off, and he leaned over and he said, "Get it and pay for it, and I'll pay you back." I said, "Okay." He just very quietly bought my mom a $1,100 sapphire and diamond ring. She just said I liked it. But that's the kind of back and forth you have when you're a tight couple and the finances are good and you're together as a unit and you work together and it's you against the world, the two of you. But women don't think like that anymore. It's, well, I'll be with him for now as long as I can get something out of him, whether it's for sex, whether it's for money, whether it's for status, and then I'll move on because I got butterflies and I need something else. Which, again, why can't I make my relationships make it past 3 months? Because right in this article, it's all about short-term dating. It's about the butterflies. It's about the same thing we men have been saying now for years. So she says, hey, if I need something, great, he gives it to me. And if I don't, I save it and I spend it later so I don't have to ask him for more money. She shares her lifestyle on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, where she's amassed 11,000 followers, so not a very big account. Some of her posts have almost 400,000 likes. So some of her posts have definitely gone viral. Although she says she's not making an income from her content. She uses the hashtag, Swedish words, for stay-at-home girlfriend and housewife, and describes herself as a soft girl, an identity that embraces a softer, more feminine way of living rather than focusing on a career. The soft girl lifestyle has been a micro-trend on social media in different parts of the world since the late 2010s, but in Sweden, with 5 decades of policies designed to promote dual-income households behind it, the concept's recent popularity has sparked both surprise and division. Now, the one downside to this type of relationship where the man relies on the woman to keep a clean home and to raise the children and to cook means that he needs to keep that woman, right? He needs to keep her. She's the mother of the kids. She takes care of the household and cooks and does things. And she needs to hold on to him because he's the father of the children and he provides everything. That's really what it's all about. You want to know what feminism's all about? It's not about the freedom of income. It's not about the freedom to do what you want when you want, because most housewives, once they've taken care of the family or the kids of age that go off to school, or before you have kids, you pretty much have the freedom to do whatever you want. Feminism is about throwing away men. That's really what it's about. It's about disposable men. If you're a feminist working your own job and you have your own income, you don't need men for anything but pleasure. And so you can sleep with them and you can hook up with them and then you can dispose of them at your will because you don't need them. You don't need them for protection. You don't need them for anything because you've got the government to bail you out. You've got the police. You've got the military. You've got alarm systems and you've got your own job and your own income. So you don't need no man. And that's really what feminism's about. It's not about bettering women. It's about making men disposable. And women have succeeded in doing that. Because now you see women that are just doing the hookup thing and they're sleeping with guys and using men for sex, and then they dispose of them and move on to the next man in their life. Those men win. The women think they're winning, but they're going to turn out single and unhappy. And the majority of men, the bottom 80%, kind of lose until they find how to go their own way. They say Sweden's largest annual survey of young people first put the national spotlight on Swedes embracing the soft girl trend a year ago. After it became popular choice, with 15 to 24-year-olds were asked to predict trends for 2024. So here you've got 15, the young women that are starting to go out on their first dates with young men. They've seen what's happened to their parents, their aunts, their grandmothers, everybody else with feminism. They see what's going on with social media. And the 15 to 24-year-olds were asked to predict a trend, and they say that the soft girl trend is a new thing where young women want to be pretty, they want to smell nice, they want to be appreciated by men, They want to go on nice dates. They want to be treated special. And they want to have a traditional relationship. Another study released by, I'm going to try to pronounce this. Another study released by Ungdomsbarometern this August suggested it was even becoming an aspiration among younger schoolgirls, with 14% of 7 to 14-year-olds identifying as soft girls. Now, this is an age long before they've even entered dating. This isn't about men at this point. When you're talking to 7 to 14, it's not about men. They're identifying with, I want to be a princess. I want to be pretty. I want to be taken care of. I want to have an easy life. I want a boy or a man that will love me and take care of me. The Prince Charming, and I'll be the princess, right? Now, granted, again, the feminism may screw up and they may all chase after the same portion of men. We don't know. We can't tell what's going to happen with this yet. But the odds of it coming back around where at least women are saying, I would prefer a traditional role relationship because I see women working. I see them getting burnt out. I see them getting used up by men and discarded after they've slept with them. I'm not feeling that. I don't want that. This is the pendulum slowly moving back in the opposite direction that has been traditional of the last decade or two. They say it's about leaning away from this girl boss idea that we've seen from a lot of years, where there are very, very high demands for success in every aspect of life, explains Johanna Gorason, a researcher for this firm. There is no official data on the number of young soft girls quitting work altogether and living off their parents, like Ms. Larson and Ms. Goransson said. It's likely to be a small portion. But it's nevertheless become a major talking point in Sweden, from opinion pieces in broadcast newspapers to panel discussions at Almedalen, a huge annual cross-party political event, and on Swedish public service television. So now you've got young people saying, I'm going to stay at home and live with my mother and father and sponge off of them like young women used to do, until I find the successful guy or the guy that wants to give me chocolates and flowers and date me and take me out and treat me well, and then I will latch onto his ship. I will jump from my parents, my family's ship, onto his ship, and then we will sail off into the sunset. Now, I can already hear what many of you are going to say. Yeah, but that doesn't mean she's not going to take half. It doesn't mean she's not going to divorce you. I understand and I agree with you. This doesn't mean we get to be suckers and fools thinking this is going to change everything. But when you're taking a young woman that isn't out there getting the hundreds of body counts, when you're taking a young woman that is dating for a purpose, which is marriage and finding the right man, if she decides to be chaste and hold on and wait for the right guy and decides to marry him, the divorce rate for virgins on marriage is roughly 4%. 4% for women that wait for the right man, and he's the only man they're with, and they decide to set off on their journey as a young couple together. It's about 4% statistically. Once she hits a body count of 1, that leaps up to almost 20% chance of divorce just for a body count of 1 before getting married. And if she's got a body count of 3 or more, now you're up to 30 plus percentage points for divorce. So statistically, if she does stay with her family, she's not out in the work world getting chased by all these men when she's working her job. She's not out going to the after party, having drinks after work with her coworkers. She's not going out with her friends to the clubs at night. Statistically, it is much better. She will make a better wife. She will find a better husband, and they will stay together forever. It's not a fix, but at least statistically, it is better. We can't fight progress if the progress is going in the right direction. We do have to let it play out, and we do have to be supportive of it, even if you don't directly support it. In other words, if I'm not going to get married again, I've cast the dice. It didn't work out for me at my age, at my tenure in life and where I am in life. I'm not getting married again. It's just not happening. But if you were to go back to a young 20-something-year-old joker and you told me, don't just go out and hook up with women, don't just go out and find one that's nice to you and you get along and the sex is great and you think you want to be with her forever, date with a purpose of finding a woman who's never been with a man, who lives at home, who wants to become a part of your life, that wants to become a traditional woman. I think if you're dating with that purpose, your odds are at least statistically better. Not guaranteed, but better. I think this is a good thing. I think this is a good thing this is happening, personally. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be a good thing for men because the court systems still overwhelmingly support women. So if this woman decides to bounce on her man, she could just say he was a bad man and she needs child support and all this other stuff. And he's going to be wrecked, right? He's going to get wrecked. So we do have to fix both sides of the coin. We have to fix the marriage portion of it. We have to fix the divorce portion of it. We have to fix the courts. We have to fix the child support. But where do you start with all this? You have to fix the women. Because if you don't fix the women, there are no women to date that men want to date. There is no marriage. There is no having kids. Of course, there's no divorce. Like, it's a no-go zone. First, you got to fix the women. This is the first step in the process of fixing the women. So I am supportive of this in that aspect. They say Gudrun Schyman, the co-founder and former leader of Sweden's feminist party, says she's taking part in recent debates on the issue. She believes women living off their parents' wealth is very dangerous and a step backwards for gender equality. Well, if you're living off your parents' wealth on your own, that could be problematic because they could cut it off. But if you're living at home, maybe getting an education and waiting and dating and trying to find the right guy, it is a step backwards for gender equality, but it's the right step for happiness of men and women, the right step for relationships. And again, feminists don't want you to be happy. That's not the ideal of feminism. Feminism is not about women being happy. How do I know this? Tell me you've ever met a happy feminist, and I'll call you a liar. Feminists are not happy. They're the most bitter, angry, resentful human beings on the planet. They don't want to be happy. They want to punish men. They want to be like men. They want to replace men. They want to get rid of men. That's what feminists want. So they're miserable because they're never going to succeed in that goal. We let them, as men, play along with their little craziness. But if it really came down to women deciding to get rid of men, it is not going to go well for the women. They get to do this craziness at our pleasure, at our leisure. We allow them to do this. Because if they get out of hand and men decide to take care of business, women lose all their rights. They will not have, because when women want to enforce their belief system, what do they use? Well, they use the police, they use the military, they use laws, and the laws are enforced by men, and the military are mostly made up of men, and the police force are made up of men. Now, you might get stupid men in those agencies to follow your dictate, but not the majority of men. And if you really come out to get rid of men, even those men are going to push back. So women get to serve and do this craziness at the whim of men, and they need to understand that. And the only way they get to enforce that is by the use of men. So this isn't going to work out well for them. They continue on. Ms. Schyman argues that young Swedes have been influenced by the country's right-wing coalition government, which collaborates with the nationalist Sweden Democrats Party, as well as the broader development of populism in Europe and the United States. She also thinks there's a lack of awareness about life in Sweden before it embraced policies designed to promote gender equality, such as heavily subsidized childcare and shared parental leave. Young women today don't carry the history of how women had to fight for their rights, the right to work, the right to have a salary, and the right to economic independence. And of course, here's what she looks like, the fat feminist. Now, again, why does she want feminism? Because no man wants her. Why does she want feminism? Because lots of men want her, and she can choose amongst the best of them and have an easy life where that man will dote and love on her because she's maybe saved herself for marriage, and she's pretty, and she's feminine, and she's sweet, and she's kind, and she's happy to clean and be traditional and love her husband and be a good mom. That's why men want her. That's why she doesn't need feminism. Now, she could have had the same thing, except she's not sweet, she's not feminine, she's not nice, she's bitter, angry, overweight, nobody wants her, so she needs feminism to get ahead in the world. And that's why now, but if she were to clean up her act and hit a little bit of a diet and become and actually be, not just pretend, but be feminine, she would find a man that would wife her up and love her. It may not be the man she wants because she's overweight and argumentative, but if she were to lose all that stuff, she could find a man. She just can't because of an ego and because she's an angry, bitter feminist. She says, we still live in a country with all the opportunities to have a career. We still have all the rights, but we have the right to choose to live more traditionally, a young woman said. This Denise Westerberg said, I think people should get to decide their own life. And if you have the economic possibility to do that, to live off a partner, then good for you. Aside from ideological debates, discussions have focused on the social and cultural factors that could be influencing young women to quit work or at least aspire to a softer lifestyle. Sweden has a reputation for work-life balance. Most employees get 6 weeks holidays a year, and less than 1% work more than 50 hours a week. Still, the research suggests rising stress levels among young people, and Ms. Gorianson believes soft-girl trend may be an extension of recent global work trends such as quiet quitting, which encourages employees not to overextend themselves. Meanwhile, Gen Z age group, the cohort between 1997 and 2012, are making and being influenced by social media content that celebrates leisure time rather than any career goals. So now the youngest people are saying, look, okay, I get it. I can be a boss bee. I can make lots of money. I can work hard. But why? Why? I don't need necessarily all this money. I want friends and I want to take it easy and I want to relax and I want to have some work-life balance. Ironically, it's young men, the young men with Peter Pan syndrome that are not putting themselves out there, not working themselves to the bone, not getting in $200,000 for debt. These young men have found a way. I earn enough money to maybe share an apartment with 2 or 3 other friends. We goof around on Xbox. We go out for beers on the weekend. We got a decent-sized TV. We have an okay living arrangement. And I have fun, and I'm enjoying my life, and I like the work that I do. No, I'm not going to be rich. No, I'm not going to probably ever have a 401k. I'll work till I die, but I get to go down to the pub on the weekends and tip a couple pints with my friends, and I have a pretty good work-life balance. Those men, society is giving a harsh time on because they say these men have Peter Pan syndrome and they don't grow up. And because they don't grow up, they don't become a benefit to the system and they're not paying into the system with taxes and they're not working themselves to the bone and they're not getting married and having kids and they're not becoming a positive member of society. And men said, why should I? The women are insufferable. The taxes are too much if I make more than a certain amount of money and I can't get certain jobs because of DEI. So I'm just going to chill and do my thing. And those men are having the best life. And the men that are slaving away and the women that are slaving away, well, the women that are slaving away are miserable. The single men that are slaving away are kind of miserable. The men that are slaving away, but they're supporting a family and they got a wife to help them at home and they love each other and everything is good, they tend to be happier. Ironically, that just doesn't happen very much because of the fatties like this one, this Maddie Savage, the feminists. And so young women are saying, yeah, you may need feminism. I can understand why you need feminism, but I don't need feminism because I'm pretty and I'm nice and I'm sweet and my family raised me to appreciate men and those men appreciate me and I don't just sleep with them, I date them and I fall in love, blah, blah, blah. And you notice this feminist here is talking about opportunities to have a career, the opportunity to have certain rights, the opportunity to, well, yeah, but you have those rights. They're already in law. The fight is over. You won. Now you need to find a way that's going to make you happy. And the feminisms can't get rid of the patriarchy, white men, we need to rule the world, feminism. They can't let go of it. They've won. They've won all the things. You own Hollywood, you own corporate America, you get all the diversity and the down with the patriarchy that you want. You've won the fight. Now be happy. And they can't be happy. And they know they can't be happy because then they need to find the next fight and the next fight and the next fight. It's always a fight for them because they're miserable, angry people. And for the rest of us, they're like, okay, you do your ideological bullshit. I'm just going to lead a good life. Right now, if most women, if 99% of women walked in here and saw that I'm living off a couple of solar panels and batteries in the woods and a metal building I've insulated myself with a wood stove, a desk with my computer stuff, and a bed, and a dog. That's it. That's all I got. Oh, I got some piles of wood out there and some scrap metal. And I live in a 300 square foot room in the middle of the woods. I am so happy. I live a great life. I get to go out and screw around on the land, and I'm going to have chickens, and I got a nice little house that's going up, and I'm going to pretend farm, and I'm off grid, baby. I love it. And most women would be like, I'm not going to live like this. I can see the boards and the insulation that is keeping a room warm. I want a soft, painted ceiling with gilded lilies on frescoes and mirrors and pretty stuff, and I want it to be decorative and pretty because I'm a woman. That's not how men are utilitarian. Like men, it works. It works for me, so it works. And women, I want it pretty and I want it frilly, and that's why You need a woman that's just going to be like, this works. And that's how they need to view relationships. Women need to stop looking at a man saying, oh, he's pretty and he gives me, I don't know, good sex and he's hot and I get to have a good time. And then he dumps me, but I got my money and I got my power and I got my, it's not working for them. And at least the young Gen Z are like, yeah, this isn't working for you, lady. You need to be better. You need to find something else. Because with all their statistics and all this stuff, women are just burned out. Women are not happy. Ms. Larson, who wants to have children in the future, says her decision to become a stay-at-home girlfriend is partly due to watching older women struggle to juggle a career and a home life. That's what I was saying. They see the previous generations, these young, she's 24, she sees these 35, 45, 55-year-old women, and they're miserable, burnt-out witches, and she's like, I don't want that. She said, I think a lot of women feel burned out from their work, and I just think of my mother and her mother, my grandmother, and my sister and everyone. They're always so stressed. At Sweden's state-funded gender equality agency, boy, does that sound typical, Peter Wallström, head of the Department for Policy Analysis and Monitoring, also believes the soft girl trend can be viewed as a rational reaction to the perceived demands experienced by young women. Shoka Arman, an economist at one of Sweden's largest pension funds, SPP, says she does not believe enough Swedish girlfriends or wives will quit work for it to have an impact on the country's economy. However, she's working to raise awareness among Sweden women that leaving the labor force as well as going part-time could impact their personal finances from savings and pensions to salary levels if they return to work. Well, this is where this all falls apart, okay? In the United States, men used to make a livable wage being, an electrician or a plumber. They used to be able to own a home. If you go back and look at some of the sitcoms from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, you had men that were plumbers, but they had a nice house. They had a nice car they could wrench on. They were able to afford a home because women weren't in the workforce. Then women entered the workforce. We got off the gold standard, and all of a sudden, productivity kept going up, but the wages got stagnant because of women entering the workforce and getting off the gold dollar or getting off the gold standard. And what you see is a flat line of income, but raising of production. And so companies said, I can hire a woman for this job instead of a man, so I'm going to lower the salaries. I'm just going to lower salaries. That happened, and now a single man working as a plumber would really struggle to have that same living standard a single plumber could have 20, 30, 40 years ago because of women entering the workforce and the Federal Reserve and all their hackery, right? Well, what happens if women leave the workforce now? Are companies going to get competitive for that workforce? Are they going to start paying better? Are they going to start offering more benefits to get men to come work for them? No, of course they're not going to do that because companies can't do that. They refuse to do that. What are they going to do? They're going to bring in the migrants. They're going to bring in migrants that'll do it for cheaper than the women and the men would do it. So the women, we leave the workforce. The men, instead of getting the bump in the salary and becoming the providers again, well, those men are now going to lose their jobs to immigrants that'll many of them made legal. They're going to lose their jobs to them that'll come in and work for half of the price of both the men and the women that are here legally or that are citizens. That's why we can't go backwards on a lot of this stuff. That's why a lot of us say we're kind of screwed on this stuff. And that works in well with the next story I'm going to be talking about on the news channel, for those of you on YouTube. Trump supporters are lashing out at Vivek and Elon over even legal immigration because of these H-1B visas, because they're dumping engineers. It's being misused. I know this. I worked at Cisco as a network engineer, and we had to train our replacements. And then once they were trained and they were up to speed, they lived in India. They were getting $10,000, where an engineer here in the United States got $140,000. We trained our replacements, and then they shipped the jobs overseas, and they would get the best of those engineers that were overseas, bring them over here as managers, give them an H-1B visa, and it screwed everything up. Let me go down some of these dating profiles here. And this is why we have to have the reversal. This is why we need the soft girls to be soft girls again. This is why I'm not going to hate on soft girls. You understand? I'm not going to hate on the soft girls. We want the soft girls. Because in the meantime, this is what men are left with, is feminists and body counts and single mamas and all the else and all the rest. The women need to change to motivate the change for men and marriage and all the rest of it. And then we got to fix the divorce laws. This is a dating profile, and this is her post. She posts herself in yoga pants, a tank top showing off cleavage. She's got her little 1 or 2 or 3 year old here. I don't know how old this young kid is, but I can tell you this: his skin is considerably darker than hers, and for a lot of men, that is a deal breaker. I mean, not just the kid, but you guys have your nicknames. It is a thing. She says, I want someone who is open-minded about HSV2. Now, for those of you that don't know what HSV2 is, that is genital herpes. That is the gift that keeps on giving downstairs, and you can't cure it. So she comes with luggage, both that luggage and the other little luggage that you see here in the corner that has a little bit of a kind of a semi-afro looking up at mommy. So she's got lots of baggage. And you also have to be open-minded about me being a full-time mommy to I think that says 3-year-old baby boy. See, marriage doesn't need fixing. Divorce laws don't need fixing when this is the women that are out there for men to marry. This is why the soft girl era, the youngest generation coming in saying, yeah, we need to do something better. That is a good start. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no, none of the other fixes matter if the women are broken. So if the women get fixed, at least we're on a start. Here's another example. She's 45. She's 45-year-old, so no eggs, sagging, wrinkle time. The best years are in the past. And she puts out her relation history. Why people do this, I don't know. My first boyfriend at 14 knocked me up. He beat me up, and he cheated. Okay, I got a question right off the get-go on this one. 14, knocked you up. Whose fault is that? Yours and your parents for your upbringing. You shouldn't have been screwing around with it. And I don't know how old he was, but that shouldn't have been a thing. And so you let a guy that beat you up and cheated on you knock you up. And if you say, no, he knocked me up first, then he beat me up and cheated, you chose poorly. That's on you. You chose poorly. She says, second one, him 21, me 26. So she was 26 and she decided to date a 21-year-old. They dated 7 years. They got married. She got pregnant. He beat me up. And then he was really interested in PDF files. It was a 5-year custody battle. I learned law and won. I have a question for you. How did you not know he was into the PDF files and you're telling me he didn't beat you up until after 7 years of marriage and you got married and pregnant? If that's the case, you chose poorly. You know how I know she chose poorly? Because even after that much time, he beat her up. Now, let's be honest about this. I see a trend. I see a trend where the men that she's dating beat her up a lot. Do you know what that tells me probably? It tells me that she likes to punch and swing and kick, and it sounds like she instigates a lot of this, and then that when they do anything back to her, they're the bad guy. I know this. We see it all the time. Also, why would you need, if he was really a PDF file lover and he beat you up, why would it be a 5-year custody battle? You should have won that in your sleep. You should have won that in your sleep. And why did you need to learn the law? Why not just get an attorney? And of course, she'd be able to afford an attorney because he'd have to pay for it unless maybe he didn't do anything wrong. I'm just saying maybe. There's some questions. My third man that I got with, he was a multimillionaire. Okay, so she leveled up. But he was jealous. He was also harmful. And he was controlling. And he started to get physical. I left and filed a restraining order. I'm seeing a trend. Again, Either you are the worst picker in the world, lady, or someone here likes to throw rights and doesn't believe in equal lefts. That's what I'm smelling here. So now she's 44, no longer naive. Oh, is that your excuse? 30 years you couldn't pick a decent man. Now she's learned jujitsu. Also, she's good with long-range hole punchers. I will not be controlled. Wait, now this is a run-on sentence, so I don't know what this means. Will not be controlled, monogamous, kind to people and animals. See, now when you do a run-on sentence like this, there's two ways to look at it. I will not be controlled. I'm monogamous, I'm kind to people, and I'm animals. Or, since you just use commas, I'm no longer naive, will not be controlled, monogamous, kind to people, and animals. Which means you will not be controlled, not be monogamous, not be kind to people, and you're not kind to animals. I'd actually believe in this case that's probably more accurate, if I'm just being honest. I have a studio and do media management remotely, just looking for someone to call home or not. So you're just looking for someone to call home or not. I don't know what that means. Looking for a long-term relationship. This might as well be her rap sheet, like her police record. That is a whole lot of broken right there. 45 years old. This is why we need soft girls. She's not soft. I have a feeling if you look at her knuckles, she's got calluses on them from punching her men in the face. This is Michelle. Michelle's got a little bit of cleavage action going here. She's young, not too bad looking. Now, wait, let's do a spoiler alert. Okay. Ooh, boy, she's pretty cute. She's the barista down the way. You don't know anything about her. She's the barista down the block, and you say, you know something? She's cute. She looks like the girl next door. I think I'd like to take her out. I'd love a girl like this for my girlfriend. I've always wanted a sweet girl next door. And then you take her out, and it turns out she cheats on you or she's horrible to you, and you're like, oh, I wish I knew more about her. Well, she tells you about her on her dating profile. Let's meet Michelle at 25 years old. I'm going to have to bleep a lot of this for YouTube. Let's meet Michelle, 24 years old. No gag reflex. Eat my asshole. I'll eat yours. If you can't handle me at my worst, run. That's all there is. Limited standards. Stalker pro. I'll cry for hours and accuse you of cheating while I do it. I'll call you daddy in front of your friends. Abuse welcome. Zero self-esteem. Call me pretty and you can stuff your dick in my butt. If you have two friends, you can fill my holes left by my ex. Emotionally stubborn and always right. If you're tired of jerking off, swipe right. Now, let's go at this at two ways. Number one, she's serious. Dear baby Jesus, help us all. Humanity is crumbling and falling apart. Number two, she's being funny and she's being ironic and she's just being silly. Okay, let's go with that one. There's some of these lines like the bedroom stuff she's talking about that she's being serious about, obviously. I mean, you don't say, look, if you're tired of jerking off, swipe right. You don't say that like being funny. You don't say no gag reflex if you're just trying to be funny. Now, the rest of this in the middle, yes, you can. But this is why in many ways, dating apps are actually good. Because here you look at this and you're like, oh, dear God, thank God I found this. Because if I met her and I thought she was cute and she played it off as shy, I'd think she's the girl next door. It sounds like she may have slept with a girl next door and then buried her in her backyard. I give this a both 9 out of 10 for funny and 9 out of 10 worrying and scary. So it's both. But she could use some soft girl era. That's all I'm saying. This was a girl in high school you wanted to marry, and now after reading this, you kind of want to throw up a little bit, but also maybe sleep with her, depending on what kind of man. Or maybe you're the guy that wants to sleep with her and then throw up afterwards. I know how a lot of you young men are. You're like, I'll totally fix her. I could totally do this for a couple of weeks, and then I'll go to the doctor to get cleared up, and then I'll feel very bad about myself until she sends me nudes, and then I'll probably go back to her. Because some of you young men are so crazy. Let's meet Samantha. She's 25 or 35, excuse me. She's 35. She's near the end of her best years. Again, she's the gal that's, you went in to donate blood. She's a nurse. You're like, she's kind of cute. Maybe I'll get her phone number and ask her out. She says, "Hi, I'm Samantha. I'm tired of life always shitting on me and my little ones. I guess you can say I'm looking for a sugar man who doesn't want the sugar, but who wants to support a family and have someone to talk to. Also, if you're just going to be mean and rude comments, I'll just block you." So where's she at in her path through life? "Hi, give me money. Life is hard on me and my kids. I want you to give me money, but I don't want you to give you anything in return. So you can give me money to sleep with me, but I will also not sleep with you, which really just boils down to you just give me money because my life is hard and I may want to talk to you." So if you want a woman that you give money to and she doesn't sleep with you and you'd like to support her family and maybe have someone to talk to, Samantha is yours. This in and of itself is not what makes me laugh so hard. It's just I picture a young 24-year-old young man jumping on a dating app, and he's like, swipe. Let me scroll this out. Swipe. Oh man, swipe. Damn man, swipe. Oh Christ, swipe. Oh Jesus, what the hell's going on with people? Swipe. I can see why men are just like, get me off of these apps. I want to end myself. It's just, can you be that, just pretend to be that 24-year-old young man, and these are like the first 5 or 6 pictures you swipe on. Nicole, 22. I have the highest standards. Most of you won't meet them. She is 9 months pregnant in this photo. This is... Bring back the soft girl era. I'm fine with it. It's what men wanted to begin with. Yes, there's still risk in divorce. Yes, there's still risk in marriage. If she stay at home and she doesn't do the work job and she doesn't do the work thing and she's not out at the clubs and she's not getting drinks with her coworkers that pressured her into going to get those 6 o'clock mimosas down at the local pub where she meets Ricky, the 28-year-old financial manager who's 6'3" and wants to tear her guts out that Friday night. At least it's heading in the right direction that young women are seeing our society. We got to take the wins where we can get them. It doesn't mean it's a win for relationships. It doesn't mean it's a win for marriage. But it is a win if the youngest of us coming into age looks at this generation that we have currently and is like, damn, you all are broken. I got to go a different direction. We take our wins where we can get them. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.